You are being taxed relentlessly every single day, and you may not even realize it. Not through the visible deductions of income tax, nor the obvious addition of sales tax, but by a force far more invisible and insidious. It leaves no trace on your payslip, and no politician will ever dare admit to its existence. Yet with quiet, unseen persistence, it relentlessly drains your hard-earned savings, diminishes the real value of your paycheck, and subtly steals away the security of your future. This, my friends, is the hidden tax of inflation. It is the most ancient and enduring trick, a clandestine tool that governments have wielded for thousands of years across countless civilizations.
Inflation is truly the quiet thief of wealth. It cunningly eats away at your savings, shrinks your real income, and orchestrates a massive transfer of value.
This value doesn't just vanish. It flows from the pockets of diligent, ordinary citizens directly into the hands of governments and the shrewd elites who understand how to manipulate this economic game. It stands as the most convenient form of taxation ever conceived, precisely because it operates without your explicit consent or even your conscious awareness. And here lies the brutal truth. Inflation is not some unfortunate economic accident or a random occurrence. It is unequivocally a deliberate choice. It is a calculated, strategic tool, a way for governments to fund their ambitions and expenditures without enduring the political backlash of visibly raising taxes on their populace. Inflation is no mere economic accident. It is a calculated and deliberate choice, a powerful, albeit insidious, tool wielded by those in power. It serves as a subtle mechanism for governments to finance their ambitions and operations, sidestepping the uncomfortable transparency of openly levying taxes on their populace. Consider the mighty Roman Empire. Its vast legions, the very backbone of its power, were paid in gleaming silver denarii coins, a currency universally trusted and accepted across the sprawling expanse of the Mediterranean world. But the relentless pursuit of conquest and the defense of its borders meant endless, costly wars. Faced with mounting expenses, the emperors, rather than imposing unpopular direct taxes on their citizens, stumbled upon a deceptive solution. They began to surreptitiously reduce the pure silver content within each coin, subtly replacing it with cheaper, baser metals. Yet, with the familiar, authoritative profile of Caesar still proudly stamped on the obverse, they maintained the illusion that absolutely nothing had changed. Initially, this subtle deception went largely unnoticed by the common citizen. However, as the practice continued, an undeniable transformation occurred. The once heavy, valuable denarii grew lighter, thinner, their metallic sheen dulled by an increasing proportion of copper. Across the marketplace, the cost of everyday goods began to spiral uncontrollably, soaring higher and higher. Public trust, the bedrock of any stable economy, evaporated, shattering under the weight of worthless coinage. The once vibrant monetary system faltered, forcing merchants and citizens alike to revert to the cumbersome methods of barter, or the more reliable, untainted value of gold. The very foundation of the empire's money had been irrevocably debased, enacting a pervasive, hidden tax upon every single citizen, a burden imposed without a single public declaration or legislative decree. Though Rome itself ultimately succumbed to its myriad pressures, this ancient, insidious trick of financial manipulation sadly endured. Rome fell, but the insidious trick of devaluing currency for state gain persisted, a silent tax that would resurface throughout history. Fast forward to the turbulent era of revolutionary France in the 1790s. The new government, desperate for funds after years of upheaval and war, devised a solution. They printed vast quantities of paper notes, termed assignats. These were supposedly backed by the immense confiscated lands of the church, offering a glimmer of hope for stability. Initially, they seemed a brilliant innovation, a way to stimulate the economy and fund the new republic.
But the temptation proved too great. When the state, facing endless financial demands, printed more and more assignats with reckless abandon, their value plummeted rapidly.
Soon, the streets of Paris erupted in furious bread riots as the price of necessities soared beyond reach. Farmers, distrustful and burned by worthless paper, refused to accept assignats for their harvests.
Ordinary families, who had placed their faith and life savings in these notes, watched in horror as their hard-earned wealth evaporated into thin air.
The government hadn't dared to overtly raise taxes on its citizens, but by simply inflating the money supply, it had quietly and effectively stolen purchasing power from every citizen who held paper currency. This same destructive pattern would sadly repeat itself, perhaps most infamously in Weimar Germany.
And then we arrive at the grim, sobering chapter of Weimar Germany, a nation shattered by the aftermath of the Great War. This was, without doubt, the most infamous inflationary collapse ever witnessed, a stark warning etched into history. Crushed under the suffocating weight of crippling war reparations and an insurmountable national debt, the mighty Reichsbank, with a desperate, ill-fated resolve, began printing money, not by the million, but endlessly, relentlessly, until the very paper lost its meaning. By the cataclysmic year of 1923, the economic fabric had unraveled completely. Workers, their faces etched with despair and exhaustion, were paid not weekly, but twice a day, desperately rushing to spend their meager wages, for they knew, with gut-wrenching certainty, that the currency in their hands would lose value by the hour, even as they walked from the factory gates. Housewives, their shopping baskets clutched tightly, raced through bustling, frantic markets, a desperate scramble to secure basic foodstuffs before prices, in a cruel, relentless dance, doubled, tripled, quadrupled by evening. The very concept of money became absurd, a macabre joke. Children, oblivious to the tragedy unfolding around them, built towers and castles with stacks of worthless banknotes, playing with fortunes that were once real, now mere paper bricks. The cost of a simple loaf of bread soared into the billions of marks, an incomprehensible sum, a lifetime of hard-earned savings, the very bedrock of family security, was not just eroded, but utterly obliterated, vanished into thin air. The insidious, hidden tax of inflation had shed its disguise, revealing its true, brutal nature as nothing less than an outright confiscation, a theft of futures, a wholesale stripping of wealth from its citizens. Yet beyond the sheer devastation lies a profoundly unsettling truth. Governments across history, observing the catastrophic fallout of unchecked inflation, the obliteration of savings, the societal chaos, paradoxically grasped not its inherent danger, but its immense power. For them, inflation emerged as the most insidious yet politically convenient form of taxation imaginable. When states embark on ambitious spending, accumulating vast debts, and subsequently flood the economy with newly printed money, they artfully repay their colossal obligations with currency rendered virtually worthless. This hidden tax subtly, yet ruthlessly, erodes their financial burdens. Creditors who once lent in good faith find their returns diminished to a pittance. Ordinary savers, diligently accumulating for their futures, watch their life's work vanish into thin air.
But the state, the architect of this economic sleight of hand, not only survives, but thrives, shedding its liabilities.
What makes this maneuver so brilliantly deceptive is the public's muted response. Unlike explicit tax hikes, which spark immediate outrage and widespread protests, inflation's theft is diffuse, confusing, a nebulous economic phenomenon. There's no dreaded tax bill for inflation arriving in your mailbox. Instead, you simply find your monthly rent unexpectedly higher, your essential groceries costing an unbearable premium, and your hard-earned salary inexplicably failing to cover basic necessities. This subtle, pervasive erosion of purchasing power, this slow-motion economic bleed, is no accident. It is, unequivocally, by design. A tactic understood acutely by empires throughout time, none more so than the British Empire, which masterfully employed this very strategy during the immense financial strain of both world wars. The astute strategists of the British Empire understood this insidious game all too well. Throughout the monumental struggles of both world wars, Britain orchestrated its vast military campaigns, not solely by the visible means of direct taxation or public borrowing, but through the far more subtle and pervasive mechanism of controlled inflation. The venerable Bank of England, with quiet determination, printed new currency, subtly injecting it into the economy. Prices, almost imperceptibly at first, began their relentless upward creep, and it was the ordinary citizens, the backbone of the nation, who silently shouldered this invisible cost, their daily struggles intensifying with each passing week. In the jubilant aftermath of war, as politicians and dignitaries paraded their hard-won victory, the quiet majority of household savers made a sobering discovery. The very pounds they had diligently put aside, intended for their future, now bought far less than they had before the conflict began, their real value silently eroded. This truly is the essence of inflation, a patriotic theft artfully disguised as a collective shared sacrifice for the greater good. The mid-20th century echoed with countless similar tales across the globe. In the burgeoning United States, following the immense expenditures of World War II, inflation once again acted as a silent force, quietly eroding the nation's colossal wartime debts. While politicians proudly hailed a period of robust economic growth and recovery, much of that apparent resurgence was in fact the quiet, imperceptible shrinking of those immense wartime financial obligations, skillfully diminished through the relentless upward march of rising prices. Following the silent erosion of wartime debt through strategic inflation, a pivotal moment arrived in 1971. President Richard Nixon, facing immense economic pressures, made the momentous decision to unilaterally sever the US dollar's last tangible link to gold. This audacious act wasn't just a policy change, it was the cutting of the final, crucial anchor that had restrained governments for decades. From that very day forward, an unprecedented era began, granting governments an almost limitless license to essentially print money, leading to systemic inflation. What emerged was a world where fiat currency, mere paper, backed by nothing but faith and government decree, rapidly became the unchallenged global standard. And with this shift, inflation, once a dramatic economic event, subtly transformed into the quiet, insidious normal, a constant hum beneath the surface of everyday life. In the wake of this monumental shift, a new reality quietly settled upon the world. Currency, no longer tethered to the tangible glimmer of gold, became abstract. Money backed by nothing but faith, a global standard forged from promises. And with it, inflation began its subtle, insidious creep, becoming the quiet, almost imperceptible normal. Consider your own diligent efforts. You might deposit your hard-earned money into a bank account, perhaps hoping to earn a modest 1% in interest. But simultaneously, inflation silently gnaws, relentlessly eroding at a rate of 5%. The stark truth is, you are not merely standing still, you are losing 4% of your precious wealth every single year. This lost value doesn't simply vanish into thin air. Oh no, it is a deliberate transfer. It flows, unseen, to borrowers whose crushing debts miraculously shrink in real terms, becoming lighter, more manageable burdens. It channels towards governments whose ever-expanding deficits become miraculously easier to finance, papered over by this silent mechanism. And most significantly, it enriches the elite's asset holders, those who possess real estate, stocks, and commodities, watching their fortunes climb in price while your diligently saved cash withers to dust. This is not mere economic happenstance. It is a meticulously designed redistribution scheme masquerading as objective economics, a clandestine method of siphoning wealth from the countless many who hold money to the privileged few who hold valuable assets.
The tumultuous 1970s in the United States ripped back the veil, making this invisible process brutally visible to all. Inflation didn't just rise, it surged, reaching terrifying double-digit rates that sent shockwaves through every home.
Families, ordinary savers, watched in horror as the value of their life savings melted away like snow in summer. Mortgage rates soared to unimaginable heights, making home ownership a distant dream for many.
Workers, desperate to maintain their families' livelihoods, were forced into demanding wage hikes, simply scrambling to keep pace with the relentless rise in prices. The hidden tax became glaringly obvious, undeniable.
The crisis grew so acute that the formidable Paul Volcker, then chairman of the Federal Reserve, was compelled to wield a truly brutal instrument. He had to inflict a crushing recession upon the nation by raising interest rates to an unprecedented, staggering nearly 20%, solely to break the back of this runaway inflation.
And it worked. Inflation was indeed crushed. But the cost was immense, a scar etched deep into the nation's psyche. Businesses crumbled, their doors permanently shuttered. Millions of ordinary citizens, savers, lost their jobs, their livelihoods shattered. The remedy, in its immediate impact, felt worse than the disease itself. Yet a profound, chilling lesson lingered in the aftermath. Inflation is an inescapable burden, always paid for by the ordinary citizens, savers, the backbone of society. While governments often harbor a secret affection for inflation, seeing it as a stealth weapon to manage debts and fund ambitions, they also harbor a deep-seated fear. For when this hidden tax becomes too apparent, too oppressive, it threatens to ignite public fury and unravel the very fabric of stability. While the lesson of inflation's true cost, always borne by the common person, lingered, governments themselves harbor a complex relationship with this economic force. They adore inflation as a stealth weapon, a silent mechanism for wealth transfer, a hidden tax levied without explicit decree.
Yet, this love is tempered by profound fear. When the insidious burden of this unseen tax grows too large, when the everyday reality of rising costs becomes undeniable, the public inevitably takes notice, sparking unrest and distrust.
This is precisely why, with calculated precision, authorities constantly strive to downplay its existence. They meticulously massage economic statistics, reframe narratives, and even subtly alter the very calculation formulas used to measure inflation, all to obscure its true, devastating impact. Consider the stark discrepancy. Your weekly grocery bill might double within a mere decade, a palpable financial strain on ordinary citizens. Yet official reports consistently declare a benign 2% annual inflation rate.
Who then truly benefits from this elaborate deception, this carefully constructed economic illusion? The most stark and revealing modern demonstration of these tactics emerged in the pivotal year of 2008.
The year 2008 delivered a shockwave as the global financial system teetered on the brink of total collapse. In a desperate bid to avert catastrophe, governments swiftly intervened, orchestrating massive bailouts for struggling banks by unleashing trillions of newly printed currency into the economy.
This unprecedented intervention was given the innocuous name, quantitative easing. For the titans of Wall Street, reeling from their own reckless gambles, this infusion of capital was nothing short of divine salvation, a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters.
But for the diligent, ordinary savers across the nation, their hard-earned wealth slowly eroding, it was a profound act of systemic theft. As these trillions flooded the system, asset prices across the board began to soar uncontrollably. Stock markets surged to dizzying new heights, Real estate values skyrocketed beyond the reach of many, and even luxury goods became symbols of an increasingly exclusive prosperity. Meanwhile, the wages of everyday workers remained stubbornly stagnant, creating a stark and widening chasm.
The true face of inflation, cunningly disguised, did not initially manifest in the price of everyday consumer goods, but rather silently infiltrated the value of tangible assets. Homes that once held steady in value suddenly doubled, then tripled, becoming inaccessible dreams for many.
Stock portfolios for the wealthy exploded with unprecedented gains, further propelling the divide. The wealth gap, already a concern, became an abyss. This hidden tax, insidious and pervasive, had merely shape-shifted, changing its form but retaining its age-old, deceptive purpose.
To systematically devalue money, to subtly punish the prudent savers, and to lavishly reward the indebted borrowers and the powerful elites who understood the game. Then, the year 2020 descended upon us, bringing with it a global pandemic that brought economies to a grinding halt. In response, governments, emperors, facing unprecedented challenges, unleashed a torrent of digital money, printing at an even greater, dizzying scale than before. Stimulus checks flowed, corporate bailouts were enacted, and critical industries received desperate rescues, all conjured into existence by digital strokes, money created seemingly out of thin air. For a fleeting moment, a sense of relief, almost magic, permeated the air. Ordinary citizens and savers felt a temporary reprieve as free money appeared, and the weight of their debts seemed momentarily suspended. But as history relentlessly teaches us, there is no such thing as a free lunch in the grand economic ledger. The true cost always emerges. And so by 2021 and into 2022, the beast of inflation roared back with a vengeance. The cost of living soared, energy bills doubled, food prices surged in every market, and housing costs spiked beyond the reach of many. In this new reality, once again, the clear winners were the elites, asset holders, those who possessed substantial assets. Conversely, ordinary citizens, savers, particularly the middle class and the poor, bore the brutal brunt, finding their savings eroded daily. Inflation, in its insidious nature, proved to be the covert tax that nobody voted for, yet tragically, everyone paid its steep price. The insidious mechanism of inflation, a silent tax that none could truly vote for, but all were compelled to pay, reveals a chillingly consistent pattern across the globe. In the vibrant streets of Argentina, a nation perpetually grappling with the ghosts of economic mismanagement, decades of unrestrained governmental overspending and the ceaseless hum of currency printing presses have cemented inflation into the very fabric of daily life. Here, the struggle is palpable. Families desperately rush to exchange their rapidly depreciating pesos for tangible goods, a frantic dance against the clock as their hard-earned money hemorrhages value with each passing moment. Generations have come of age in this volatile economic landscape, their youthful eyes reflecting a profound, inherited distrust in the very currency that defines their nation. The early 2000s saw the tragic spectacle of Zimbabwe's hyperinflation capture global headlines, a stark and horrifying testament to economic collapse. Banknotes denominated in trillions, mere paper artifacts, utterly worthless, unable to purchase even a single loaf of bread. A nation's collective savings, painstakingly accumulated over lifetimes, were utterly obliterated, leaving behind a desperate society forced back to the most primitive form of commerce, barter, a chilling regression. More recently, the scars of this hidden tax appeared in Lebanon between 2019 and 2021. The nation's financial arteries seized as banks unilaterally froze withdrawals, trapping the hard-earned wealth of its citizens. Simultaneously, the Lebanese currency spiraled into freefall, plummeting by an astonishing 90%. Esteemed doctors, brilliant engineers, dignified retirees, the very backbone of the middle class, watched in horror, their life's diligent accumulation of savings dissolving into thin air within a mere matter of months, an entire future wiped clean. From the sun-drenched markets of Argentina to the desolate banks of Zimbabwe and the besieged cities of Lebanon. The settings may change, the faces of the leaders may differ, but the underlying deception, the hidden tax, remains horrifyingly, tragically, the same trick.
In the annals of economic manipulation, some even dare to call it good inflation. Certain economists, in well-meaning but ultimately deceptive tones, will advocate for a steady, seemingly benign 2% annual inflation rate.
They propose it's a vital lubricant for the economy, a gentle nudge encouraging spending, preventing stagnation, and keeping the gears of commerce turning dynamically. To the gruesome tale of Cyrus the Great, whose severed head, it is believed, was drowned in blood by a vengeful queen. And then we delve into the chilling tactics of a ruthless Chinese general, infamous for burying 400,000 prisoners alive. These are but glimpses into the extraordinary sagas of the 12 legendary warriors and formidable military units that shaped the destiny of Asia. Because the US dollar's true and most formidable weapon isn't its physical paper form, nor the digital entries that represent it. No, its ultimate power rests solely on collective belief, the shared conviction of billions that it holds immutable value. And as long as the world collectively believes, the United States, through its currency, maintains its unparalleled global dominion. But history, with its relentless march, has an undeniable and often brutal habit of humbling every single empire that dares to confuse its deeply held beliefs with immutable objective truth. The echoes of past empires, from Rome to Great Britain, serve as stark warnings. If this exploration has offered you a new, perhaps unsettling, perspective on the true nature of global power, we invite you to subscribe and delve deeper.
History does not conceal its profound answers in the uncharted waters of the future. Rather, they are already meticulously written, embedded within the very fabric of our past, waiting to be rediscovered and understood. Every time you hear the seemingly benign terms, interest rates, quantitative easing, or the rallying cry of defending the currency, remember, these are not mere technicalities. They are, in fact, sophisticated battle plans, covert strategies deployed in the ongoing war over money and power. In the grim reality of the 1930s, defending the currency inflicted starvation through the brutal grip of deflation, choking the life out of ordinary citizens. Today, the seemingly benevolent act of stimulating the economy often means a gradual, insidious erosion of savings and living standards through the relentless tide of inflation.
While the tactics may differ, the devastating impact remains chillingly consistent. Governments, with their vast apparatus, invariably survive. Powerful banks adapt, their vaults growing ever larger. The entrenched elites simply adjust their portfolios and emerge wealthier. But the ordinary people, the backbone of society, always pay the price, shouldering the burden of these financial maneuvers. This brings us to a crucial, chilling warning. History does not simply repeat its exact steps. No, instead, it reverberates, echoing familiar tunes through different eras. We witness this phenomenon most acutely when the crushing weight of debt reaches unsustainable heights, when the feverish pursuit of speculation grips markets, and when those institutions meant to stabilize, the Federal Reserve and other banks, paradoxically ignite the very fires they later struggle to extinguish. This insidious pattern, once set in motion, inevitably returns. Consider the echoes of the 1970s, the seismic shock of 2008, and the unprecedented interventions of 2020. Different decades, distinct circumstances, yet the underlying rhythm, the core mechanics of crisis, remain eerily consistent. With each cycle, the fundamental nature of money itself is distorted, transforming into a formidable weapon wielded by unseen hands. And with each blow, the bedrock of societal trust is systematically eroded, shattering faith in the system. The Great Depression, far from being a singular historical anomaly, stands revealed as a chilling manual, a blueprint for financial warfare. Disturbingly, we continue to follow its grim instructions. Therefore, when the headlines scream of a market crash, resist the urge to merely perceive abstract numbers and plummeting graphs. Instead, envision a far deeper, more insidious conflict.